to the Atomic Shift. This is Arjun Nidagalu, and I will start with a question. Have you ever had a transformation in your life that is so significant, yet you cannot recall the exact point in time when you made that crucial turn? Or you can't point out that one experience that pushed you over the edge towards this new you? Have you taken a moment lately to notice how and how much you have changed in the recent past? Maybe it isn't a big change. Maybe you just realised that you now prefer to drink red wine instead of beer. When did that happen? Maybe it is something big. Maybe you were always religious and believed in some God, and now you're not so convinced by the notion anymore. What made me change my mind? I, for one, have certainly had at least one of those two transformations, and each time I ask myself, what was that single event? Or when was that exact moment? Or who was that one person that is responsible for this change? It turns out these questions are completely assumptive in that there's never just a single reason, and that should be obvious and simple to understand. Yet it makes us feel so uneasy, doesn't it? To think that our mind is so fragile and vulnerable to multiple micro adjustments that we don't control. No, surely not. But that's the truth. It is far easier to give credit or attribute blame to a single entity that caused the change than to duly examine and accept all the minute shifts in our knowledge and attitude and outlook that a combination of experiences, of course, to ultimately deliver that meaningful change. If you ever find a reasonable answer to the question, why am I the way I am, you can bet that it'll be complicated at best. To make this slightly simpler, I think we can think of almost all the experiences that change us as conversations. Sure, we also change through body language, and some changes arise due to genetics and evolution, and of course some change is forced by external factors or even just by chance. But this practice we have of conversing with words has to take the cake as the one type of human interaction that is most responsible for bringing about real change. And conversations come in all sorts. Quite often it is your own internal dialogue. But it could have been that movie you watched, that chat with your friends, that argument with your partner, that debate with your parents, that book you read, that social media post you viewed, that video you streamed, or in this case, the podcast that you will listen to. Take any change, from a small personal transformation to the most radical social revolutions. Conversations are the building blocks that make them happen. The bitter pill to swallow for many is that change is inevitable. And while we may have little to no control over the some change that we will be subjected to between now and some point in the future, we can certainly choose to consume more meaningful conversations, because it's the sum impact of these that will ultimately determine who we are and what we'll achieve in the future. And so I've realized that these small or atomic shifts in our mindset can not only change us, but when we curate the content and the standard of these conversations, they can actually help us in seeing more value and derive more meaning from life itself. So over the past few years, I've actively chosen to consume, as well as myself have more meaningful, constructive conversations with friends, family, colleagues, and even some strangers. Atomic Shift was essentially born out of this seemingly obvious yet stark realization that these conversations are worth sharing because they matter. So we've reached out to some extremely passionate people and recorded some intriguing conversations with them for your consumption, and that's what this podcast is all about. In our first few episodes, for example, we host a musician, a filmmaker, a psychiatrist, just to name a few. Each of them chat to me about their journey, why they're so passionate about what they do, and how they add value to our world. I really do believe these conversations have the potential to truly inspire positive change, shift your thinking, and expand on our common wealth of knowledge. And who knows, maybe we'll have a bit of fun along the way and make you laugh. So how can you support us? Firstly, by listening to our podcast and sharing them with your friends. That's the easiest thing you can do. Secondly, you can reach out to us on our website at atomicshift.org or any of our social media pages. Please subscribe for regular updates and let us know what you think of our work. So welcome again to the Atomic Shift podcast. My name is Arjun Nidagalu, and I invite you to come take some small strides with me in this big world we share.